Ladies and gentlemen, every day we wake up with a choice, to be reactive or to be intentional. We live in a world that pulls at our attention, tests our confidence, and tempts us to forget who we are and what we stand for. But here's the thing, what we say to ourselves matters. The conversations we have in our own minds shape our beliefs, drive our behavior, and ultimately determine our destiny. Why do some people move forward with clarity, even in chaos, while others get stuck in self-doubt? It's not luck, it's not talent, it's the narrative they choose every morning. Today, I want to share with you 9 things you should tell yourself every single day. Not because they're magic words, but because they remind you of who you are, what you believe, and why you keep showing up. Let's begin with the why, and together we'll build the mindset that fuels purpose, courage, and growth. I know my why. Those 4 words can be the difference between merely surviving the day and moving through life with intention, clarity, and courage. When you wake up each morning and remind yourself of your why, your purpose, your reason for being, it becomes your compass. It guides your decisions, fuels your motivation, and keeps you steady when everything else feels uncertain. Too many people start their day reacting. They reach for their phone, check their messages, respond to whatever the world demands from them. But very few stop to ask, why am I doing this? Why do I show up? Why does it matter? When we don't know our why, we drift. We get caught in the expectations of others. We pursue goals that look good on the outside but leave us empty on the inside. We chase titles, approval, money, thinking they'll give us meaning. But without a deeper reason anchoring those pursuits, success feels hollow and failure feels personal. Knowing your why doesn't mean having all the answers. It doesn't mean you've figured out the perfect career path or that your life fits into a clean mission statement. Your why isn't a slogan, it's a feeling, a sense of alignment between what you do and who you are. It's the reason your work matters, the reason you get back up after falling, the reason you care in the first place. And here's the truth, your why isn't always loud. Sometimes it whispers, it speaks in moments, when you help someone without expecting anything in return, when you lose track of time doing something you love, when someone tells you that you made a difference, even if you didn't notice. Your why often shows up in how others feel when you're around them, because at the heart of it, purpose is always tied to impact. It's not just about what you do, it's about how what you do affects others. When you tell yourself, I know my why, every day, you're not claiming to have it all figured out. You're reminding yourself that you're living with intention. You're choosing not to drift. You're choosing to wake up and show up for a reason greater than yourself. And when life gets hard, and it will, that why becomes your anchor. It's the thing you return to when motivation fades, because motivation comes and goes. Discipline can slip, confidence can shake, but purpose endures. Purpose whispers, keep going, when everything else says, give up. Think about it. Every great leader, every resilient individual, every change maker. What sets them apart isn't talent alone. It's not luck, it's clarity of why. They know what they stand for. They know what matters to them. They know why they're willing to endure discomfort, take risks, and keep moving forward. And here's something powerful. Your why doesn't have to be dramatic. It doesn't have to save the world. It just has to be real. Your why could be your family. It could be to create, to inspire, to serve, to teach, to grow, to heal. Whatever it is, it has to be yours, authentically yours. Not borrowed, not copied, not imposed. Start each day with this inner affirmation. I know my why, and if you don't yet, that's okay. Then the phrase becomes, I am discovering my why. Either way, you're not walking through life aimlessly. You're walking with a question that matters, and that question will lead you to the people, places, and opportunities that align with your truest self. When you live from your why, something shifts. You no longer need constant validation. You stop chasing shallow wins, you become grounded, you start saying no to distractions and yes to direction, you trade noise for focus, you begin to live a life that makes sense, not to everyone else, but to you. And that's what real success looks like. So tomorrow morning, and every morning after, before the demands of the day rush in, pause, breathe, and remind yourself of this simple but powerful truth. I know my why. Because when you know your why, you'll find the strength to endure anyhow. Progress matters more than perfection. That simple truth, when fully understood, has the power to free us from fear, from hesitation, from the impossible standards we place on ourselves. Yet most of us grow up with the opposite message. We're taught to aim high, to be the best, to win, to get it right, and while excellence is a worthy pursuit, perfection isn't. Perfection is a trap, it's an illusion. And chasing it often robs us of the very thing we need most, momentum. Every time you tell yourself that you won't start until everything's just right, until you know more, until it's flawless, until it feels safe, you delay your own growth. You don't need perfection to begin. You need courage. You need to be willing to take that first small step, however messy, however uncertain, because progress is honest, it's humble, it tells the story of effort, of showing up again and again even when things aren't polished. Perfection, on the other hand, is performative. It focuses on appearance rather than substance. It feeds on fear, fear of judgment, fear of failure, fear of not being enough. And worst of all, it convinces us that we're only worthy once we've achieved some unreachable standard. But you are worthy now, in the middle of the process, in the middle of your learning, your trying, your growing. Think of any great achievement in your life, anything you're proud of. Was it perfect? Probably not. But was it progress? Absolutely. And that's what made it meaningful. Because the value wasn't in getting everything right. It was in becoming someone stronger through the process. Progress invites grace. It allows space for learning, for correction, for evolution. When you focus on progress, you give yourself permission to be human. You give yourself room to fall down and get back up, knowing that each setback is still part of forward motion. You stop asking, did I do it perfectly? And start asking, did I grow from this? When we shift from perfection to progress, we stop obsessing over the result and start valuing the journey. And that's where real growth happens. Not in the clean victories, but in the messy middle. The uncomfortable moments when we're still figuring things out. That's where confidence is built, not from flawless execution, but from resilience, repetition, and reflection. Progress is also contagious. When people see you trying, evolving, getting better, even imperfectly, they're inspired to do the same. Perfection isolates us. It creates distance. It says, I'm untouchable, I don't make mistakes. But progress connects us. It says, I'm working on it too, let's grow together. And make no mistake, progress still requires discipline. It still asks for consistency, focus, and high standards, but it comes with compassion. It knows that greatness is built step by step, not all at once. That effort repeated over time beats occasional brilliance every time. So what does this look like in real life? It means starting the project even if you're scared, speaking up even if your voice shakes, learning the skill even if you're starting at zero. It means writing the messy first draft, making the first call, showing up when you'd rather quit. It means trading the illusion of perfect timing for the reality of imperfect action. It means redefining success, not as flawlessness, but as forward motion. Every morning remind yourself, progress is enough, progress is worthy, progress is power. And here's what's beautiful. When you truly live by progress, perfection often takes care of itself. Not in the traditional sense, but in the sense that one day, you'll look back and realize you've become something extraordinary. Not because you chased perfection, but because you stayed committed to the process. So take the pressure off. Don't wait to be perfect to be proud. Be proud of every small, deliberate step forward. Be proud of showing up. Be proud of not giving up. Because perfection might impress people, but progress Progress transforms you, and that is something no one can take away. I am enough as I am and growing every day. That sentence holds the balance so many of us are searching for, the balance between self-acceptance and personal growth. It's not just a statement, it's a shift in mindset, a declaration that says, I matter now, even as I become more. Too often, we believe we need to achieve something first before we can feel worthy, that once we lose the weight, get the promotion, fix the flaws, prove ourselves, then we'll deserve love, peace, respect. But that's not how it works. You don't need to earn your worth. You don't have to hustle to deserve space in this world. You are already enough, right now, not a version of you that's 10 steps ahead. Not a version of you with no doubts, no fear, no imperfections. The you that's tired. The you that's still learning. The you that's made mistakes, that's healing, that's still figuring things out. That version of you is already worthy of compassion and belief. But let's be clear, being enough doesn't mean staying still. It doesn't mean settling or stopping. It means starting from a place of self-respect rather than self-rejection. It means you grow not because you hate who you are, but because you love who you are becoming. That's the key difference. When you start from I am not enough, every step becomes about proving yourself. You push out of fear, out of comparison, out of desperation, and it exhausts you. But when you start from I am enough, you grow out of joy, curiosity, and purpose. You grow because it's in your nature, not to fix yourself, but to fulfill yourself. Growth is a natural part of life. Look around, nothing alive stays the same. Trees stretch toward the sun. Rivers carve new paths. Seasons change, and yet, not once do we question if nature is enough. A flower isn't any less beautiful just because it's not in full bloom. It is enough at every stage, so are you, and yes, there's more you want to become. More you want to do, give, create. That's good, that's human, but don't let the gap between where you are and where you want to be turn into shame. That space is meant to be filled with hope, not self-criticism. Growth should feel like an invitation, not a punishment. Every day, tell yourself, I am enough as I am. That means you get to set boundaries without guilt. You get to say no without apologizing. You get to take up space, have dreams, and be heard. Not because you're perfect, but because you exist. And then add this, I'm growing every day. That means you're open. Open to feedback, to reflection, to change. You're committed to becoming, not from a place of lack, but from a place of alignment. And growth doesn't have to be dramatic to be real. It can be the small choices you make, choosing to pause before reacting, reaching out instead of isolating, trying again after failing. Growth can be quiet, it can be invisible, but it's there in every little moment you choose to show up with just a bit more intention. When you believe you are enough, you stop needing to prove your value, and you start living from it. You stop performing and start connecting. You stop comparing and start appreciating. You move through the world with more grace for yourself and for others, because when you no longer judge yourself by impossible standards, you stop holding others to them too. So say it again, I am enough as I am and growing every day. Let that be your foundation. Let it guide your choices. Let it quiet the voice that says you're behind or broken or too far gone. You are not. You are here. You are still becoming, and that is a beautiful place to be. Challenges, no one asks for them, but no one grows without them. They are the hidden curriculum of life, the tests that don't come with warning, the lessons that don't come with instructions, and yet they are the very experiences that shape us, sharpen us, and show us who we're becoming. It's easy to believe that challenges are interruptions, that they get in the way of your progress, your plans, your peace. But what if they are the path? What if they're not obstacles to your growth, but the very catalyst for it? Every difficulty you face invites you to look deeper, not just at the world around you, but at the world within you. When things are easy, when life flows, when you're winning, it's comfortable. But comfort rarely introduces you to your next level. It's the resistance that builds strength. It's the adversity that exposes character. When you're in the middle of a challenge, whether it's personal, professional, emotional, it's tempting to focus on what's being taken from you. Your time, your energy, your sense of control. But if you can pause and look again, you might begin to see what's being given to you instead. Resilience, insight, grit, humility, compassion. The challenge is not just about what's happening to you, it's about what's happening in you. Growth isn't always visible. Often it's invisible, internal. It's the quiet shift from "why is this happening to me?" to "what is this revealing in me?" That shift changes everything, because who you're becoming matters more than what you're achieving. Think about it. When you're forced to confront difficulty, you learn things you never would have learned by coasting. You discover how you respond to pressure, how you bounce back from failure, how you hold yourself when no one is watching. Those are not small things. Those are the building blocks of your future self. And challenges are great clarifiers. They strip away the noise. They bring your values into focus. They ask you, what do you really care about? What do you stand for when things aren't going your way? What are you willing to fight for, to wait for, to change for? It's in those moments that your true motivations surface. Not the ones you post, not the ones you talk about, but the ones that live deep inside you. The ones that drive you when things get hard. And here's the beautiful part. Challenges are also reminders that you're still in motion. You're still growing. You're still on a path that matters. If life never stretched you, it would mean you've stopped evolving. Comfort zones feel safe, but they don't stretch your capacity. They don't test your limits. They don't show you what you're capable of. You don't become strong by avoiding hard things. You become strong by facing them and realizing that you can. And no, you don't have to enjoy the challenge to value it. Growth doesn't always feel good in the moment. In fact, it often feels like confusion, frustration, exhaustion. But just because something is painful doesn't mean it's not purposeful. Some of the most meaningful chapters in your life will be the ones that were the hardest to live through, but the most powerful to look back on. So remind yourself, this challenge isn't defining me, it's refining me. It's revealing my courage, it's exposing my commitment, it's building the future version of me. The one who is stronger, wiser, more grounded. You are becoming, even if it doesn't feel like it right now. Even if all you see is the mess, the struggle, the unfinished story. You are becoming someone who knows how to navigate life with more grace and less fear. Someone who understands that every test contains a truth, that you are capable of more than you thought, and that every step forward, even the hard ones, are shaping your identity. So next time you're facing a challenge, don't just ask how to get through it. Ask who it's helping you become, and let that answer give you the strength to take the next step. There is a subtle but powerful difference between living under pressure and living with purpose. One constricts you. The other expands you. One demands, the other inspires. One says, I have to. The other says, I choose to. Every day you get to decide which one leads you. Pressure is everywhere. It comes from expectations, yours and everyone else's. It whispers, be more, do more, prove more. It creates urgency without clarity, movement without meaning. It pushes you to perform, not to align. And over time it wears you down because pressure never feels like enough. It's a finish line that keeps moving, but purpose grounds you. It gives your actions weight. It connects your efforts to something deeper. When you lead with purpose, you're not just reacting, you're responding. You're not chasing approval, you're pursuing meaning. You're not driven by fear, you're guided by belief. It's not that purpose makes life easier, it makes it worth it. You'll still face challenges, you'll still feel the strain. But when you know why you're doing something, you endure differently. You don't burn out from working hard, you burn out from working aimlessly. Think about how most of us operate. We wake up already feeling behind. We race through the day, ticking boxes, checking tasks, pleasing people, managing impressions. That's pressure, and it might produce results, but it rarely produces fulfillment. It keeps you busy, but it doesn't make you better. Purpose shifts the question. It doesn't ask, what do I need to do today? It asks, why does it matter? That one question changes how you show up. It transforms routine into intention. It turns stress into service. It reminds you that your life is not just about productivity, it's about impact. When you lead with purpose, people feel it. They don't just hear what you say, they sense why you mean it. You stop trying to motivate with fear or control. You start leading with authenticity. You don't push others harder, you invite them to something higher, and the same goes for how you lead yourself. When pressure leads, your inner voice becomes a drill sergeant, critical, demanding, impatient. But when purpose leads, that voice becomes a coach, encouraging, honest, committed to your growth. You still hold yourself accountable, but you do it with grace. You give yourself room to evolve, not just perform. This mindset is crucial, especially when things go wrong. When you're led by pressure, every mistake feels like a failure. But when you're led by purpose, every mistake becomes part of the process. You ask, what can I learn? Instead of, what will people think? You get back to your why, not just your worry, and let's be real. There will always be deadlines, responsibilities, expectations. You can't escape pressure entirely, but you can decide what has the final say. Pressure might get you moving, but purpose will keep you going. It's the fuel that doesn't run out, because it's not based on external approval, it's based on internal conviction. The most grounded, impactful people you'll ever meet aren't the ones trying the hardest to look perfect. They're the ones anchored in something bigger than their own performance. They've made peace with the fact that they don't need to do everything. They need to do the right things for the right reasons. That's what it means to lead with purpose. It's not about being in charge of others. It's about being in charge of your own direction, about knowing what you stand for, about choosing clarity over chaos, intention over image. So every morning, remind yourself, I lead with purpose, not pressure. I lead my actions. I lead my energy. I lead my choices. Not to impress, but to impact. Not to prove, but to serve. Not to keep up, but to live up. To my values, to my vision, to the deeper reason I'm here. Because when purpose leads, pressure follows. And suddenly, the weight you carry starts to feel a little lighter. Because you finally remember who's carrying it and why it matters. Gratitude is more than saying thank you. It's a way of seeing the world. It's not a feeling we wait for, it's a practice we choose. And when we choose it consistently, something incredible happens. Our entire perspective begins to change, not just our mood, not just our attitude. Our lens, the way we see ourselves, our challenges, our lives. Most people think gratitude is something that comes after things go right. We get the promotion, the relationship, the health report, and then we say, I'm grateful. But the truth is, gratitude is most powerful before things fall into place. It's most transformational when it's chosen in the middle of uncertainty, pain, or difficulty, because gratitude doesn't deny reality, it reframes it. It doesn't pretend everything is perfect. It reminds you that even in imperfection, something is still good. Something is still working. Something is still worth honoring. And in a world that constantly points out what's missing, what you lack, what you haven't done yet, how far behind you are, gratitude points you back to what's already here, what's already working, what's already beautiful and meaningful and enough. Gratitude doesn't eliminate your problems. It simply gives you the strength to face them. It shifts your focus from what's out of your control to what's within your power. It takes your attention away from what's wrong and helps you recognize what's right, even if it's small. And here's what we forget. Your perspective creates your experience. Two people can go through the same day, the same stress, the same set of circumstances, and come away with completely different stories. Why? Because one saw problems, the other saw possibilities. One focused on what went wrong, the other noticed what still went right. The difference wasn't the event, it was the lens. Gratitude rewires that lens. When you practice gratitude, You start to notice things you used to overlook. A kind word, a warm meal, the quiet moments of peace in a chaotic day. You stop waiting for someday to feel joy, and you start finding it right here in the ordinary. And over time, something deeper happens. You begin to realize that your value doesn't come from more success, more recognition, more stuff. It comes from appreciation for what is, not just what could be. It comes from a mindset that says, even as I grow, I will not miss the good that's already around me. Gratitude also transforms relationships. It helps you see people differently. It softens judgment. It strengthens connection. When you practice it, you stop taking others for granted. You listen better. You lead with more empathy. You stop expecting perfection and start recognizing effort. And perhaps most importantly, gratitude helps you see yourself differently. It shifts your inner dialogue from "I'm not enough" to "I've come a long way." It helps you acknowledge your own progress instead of just criticizing your flaws. You begin to notice how resilient you are, how many storms you've already weathered, how many days you've shown up even when it was hard. That shift is powerful, because the person who moves through life with gratitude moves with presence, with depth, with meaning. They may not always have more, but they always feel more connected, more grounded, more alive. Gratitude is a discipline. It's not always easy, especially when you're tired, when things are falling apart, when life feels unfair. But that's when it matters most. That's when it becomes more than a nice idea. That's when it becomes a life-changing perspective. So every day, choose to notice. Choose to name one thing, then another. Not because everything is perfect, but because something is still good. A breath, a chance, a lesson, a moment of calm. Gratitude doesn't ask you to ignore your pain. It asks you to also see your strength. When you lead with gratitude, your challenges don't disappear, but your outlook changes. You stop being the victim of your circumstances and start becoming the author of your experience. So remind yourself daily, gratitude is not passive, it's powerful. It rewires your perspective, and the more you practice it, the more clearly you'll see, not just what life gives you, but what you're capable of giving back.